So welcome to your Yin Yoga practice today. We are going to make our way down onto the mat to begin with. This class starts with us laying down on our back body. And along the way, can you grab a couple of blocks or a couple of low cushions, maybe a blanket as well? And what we're going to prepare for today, as we first come into the practice, is just to relax. So all that's needed is for you in these first few moments to simply arrive. And how that takes place for you, or what that means for you, is so unique and individual to all of us. And so how does it feel to arrive in this place at this moment? At this time of your day that you've chosen to practice, to come along, how can you really be here more fully? You might notice your body starting to lead the way. Perhaps a heaviness is coming through, maybe a deeper breath or two. Perhaps there's a feeling of unlocking places of tension within yourself. You might notice around your jaw, your forehead, or other places around through your body, maybe the torso, the throat, chest. Let's bring everything down towards the ground. Let's give everything a rest. Next couple of moments, I invite you to gently bring a bend to the knees and walking the feet up towards your hips. Bring the knees into the body. So slowly taking a rounding quality, coming through the lower back and through the spinal joints. And it's here that I invite you to nurture for a couple of moments. Maybe you take a little breath or rock from side to side. Perhaps you take the knees out wide. Notice what you need just for your body today as you come into some gentle undulating movements. And feel a stretch coming through the lower back as knees draw into the belly. Let's change this now. Let's start to bring our feet down to the ground with the knees still bent to the sky. And coming into an open knee butterfly position, feet come together. Knees coming out wide to both sides. Coming into an inner thigh stretch position today so that we can start our practice this way. And as you come into position, make sure that you feel comfortable enough to stay. We're going to be here for about 5 minutes, doing other things in addition also. So this might mean you bring in the blocks underneath the outer edges of the upper thigh bones or knees. It might mean that you bring in your cushions, supporting the outer leg as the inner thigh gets the stretch. Now make sure your head and neck is comfortable, and if it doesn't feel so, change something in your immediate environment. So perhaps an extra cushion underneath the back of the neck, a blanket or a piece of clothing that helps the back of the head rest softly towards the ground. We don't want to have the neck choked up so we can't breathe, but at the same time, we don't want to have the head going so far back that there's this big curvature in the neck. We want to make sure the neck stays pretty much in line with the spine. Beautiful. Now, setting your hands down onto the base of the sternum. Bring your elbows into a bend and bring your fingertips to the base of the sternum, which would be the top of the abdomen area. Feeling gently across a little towards the left. This is where the stomach and the spleen sit. And there's lots of attachments here for the diaphragm too. Can you start to curl your fingers into the flesh of this space So we're just inside the bottom area of the floating left ribs. You might just feel your way from the base of the sternum along that base rib line. And we're just right there, just a little touch away from the sternum. Dig your fingers in a little and then rub up and down. We're doing this for 20 seconds. So you should feel a little bit of discomfort. We dig in towards that stomach region across to the left-hand side, slightly of the base ribs. Last 10 seconds. If it feels too painful, just be a little softer with your touch, not so deep with the fingers clawing in, more of the pads of the fingers, creating the movement. Last breath. Beautiful. Now, bring one hand onto your belly. Bring the other hand onto your chest. And if the elbows and arms feel comfortable enough, that's cool. You can stay right here. If not, cushion the elbows. And we're going to take 30 rounds of deep diaphragmatic breath. So we're going to get the diaphragm really moving and bringing blood flow up into the heart. So to do this, breathe in through your nose, breathe down to the belly hand first, breathing all the way up to inflate the lungs, and then breathe it out, exhale through your mouth. That was a lot of words. So I'll say that again a little slower. We breathe in through the nose. The hand on the belly will rise first. Try to concentrate the energy on moving down into the belly first, and then chest rising second. As we fulfill the top of the inhale, and we breathe out then through our open mouth. We want to feel the diaphragm's action. Drawing down as we inhale, that belly hand will gently lift up with the diaphragm's descent. And a wave-like motion flowing from the belly all the way up into the heart as you fulfill the top of the in-breath. Really feel the out-breath leaving your open mouth. You could even give it just a little more vigor. A little gentle feeling of a push of the exhale to leave your open mouth. Now, along the way, because this is quite vigorous for our inner body, you might be feeling nauseous. We might be feeling a little bit like dizzy, or perhaps feeling a little lightheaded. That's okay. Just adjust if you need to do less. Anytime you need, of course. But it's meant to disrupt your system a little. We are providing a lot more blood flow as the diaphragm moves up into the lung and heart region. And diaphragmatic breath, as we know, is so conducive to the nervous system's repatterning around stress, the nervous system's repatterning around tension. So even though this might feel a little edgy, stay with it. The end results are so beneficial. Last 10 breaths. Deepen that belly breath. Feeling up into the lungs, up into the chest. The legs be heavy, the pelvic bowl heavy to the earth, the inner thighs gently stretching open as we take the last 5 or so breaths. Sending messages to the vagus nerve that helps us regulate our nervous system. Body to brain and brain back to the body. Last 2. Take your final rounds. Last 2 breaths here this morning. Last one. Let it be cleansing, clearing. Letting your hands gently peel away from your body, resting your arms comfortably down by the sides or even out wide. See what feels right for you. Just relax into your natural way of breathing. Let it find you. And let your organic body, your organic state of homeostasis find you here. As we benefit from that blood flow up into the lungs and heart, and simply lay back and rest. Now, can you start to relax your head and neck so much at the back that it almost feels like the brain is moving from the front of the skull and heavying its weight, brain's weight, into the rear of the skull. And you sense that, even just a little. Gentle heaviness of the brain's weight into the cradle at the back of the skull, heavying into the neck bones, relaxing into the upper back. And now softly, slowly witness, just witness 3 breaths in a row, rolling in and gently departing out. No effort, just that witness within you, watching, noticing. And let's just take one more. If this is an addition to the 3rd, that's okay. Last one. Beautifully done. Now really slowly, as you lay back and relax, you might need to use your hands to lift your thighs towards the midline. Draw the knees in towards your chest when you feel to. And yes, make any movements that you feel might be beneficial for you right now. Like a transition, this is a transition. We rebound gently from the inner thigh and pelvic area stretch. And take your time just to feel into that transition for you. Nurturing, cultivating a sense of connection and gifting what's needed to yourself right here in the moment. Take your time to recover from this and feel free to take any other positions that you might in fact need. We are going to slowly but surely make our way up, and do take your time. Roll from side to side or just rest on one side in the journey or on the journey. And when you do feel ready, support yourself to rise up to seated. Coming up to hands and knees next, we're just going to ease our bodies around. And because we were laying so static with the pelvic bowl there in the center and the legs opening, let's just bring a little bit of cathartic movement to our back bodies. Cat and cow. Wrists under the shoulders, knees under the hips as a nice base. And moving through the ripple effect of your spinal movements. Using the front body to conduct the back body rounding. Hug your belly in. Draw the chest up towards the spread of the shoulder blades. And alternatively, as you move forwards, let the back body sink into the front body. So we're rounding using the front body, and then we're sinking into the hollow of the lower back, letting the back body be heavy, dropping into the front part of your torso. On the last few motions, let's really be aware of our neck bones and our tailbone. And feeling into these smaller joints, yet very crucial areas for mobility. Let's take one more of each. Breathing deeply as you unlock any last tensions in your body. We're going to come into a shoulder pose for this yin practice, first of all now. And this may be a shoulder pose you haven't done before. Feel free to have a look at the screen as I demonstrate. From hands and knees, we lift the right arm up. And as we take the right arm underneath, we thread the needle, but we drop our chest down so low that the right shoulder comes all the way to the ground and our head drops down to the ground or a block. Now, the difference with this is that we keep our bottom lifted and we stretch our left leg back. And we're resting the weight of our upper body into the shoulder on the right. So the right arm from hands and knees does the lifting. We sweep up. We take the motion of threading the needle, bringing it underneath the chest, reaching to the left. Keeping the right knee bent on the ground, stretch the left leg back. Make sure your head feels comfortably placed. And we're here for just a minute and a half. Make sure your head is at the right height. If it's up too high, you're going to feel strain through the neck. Do you need to completely start the pose again and bring in a soft blanket or cushion? Please go the extra mile and do what you need to find an edge in a grounded and comfortable way as we meet our bodies today. Now let the weight of your body just drip feed down into the right shoulder, into the right upper ribs, into the right side of your skull. And for the last 30 seconds, just go with gravity here, taking your final last 3 breaths. That's it. And then bringing the left knee back down to the ground. Gently taking care of the position of the right shoulder. Maybe you ease back into the shins. Take the right arm out from the position underneath you. And take a few moments in your transition time to encourage the blood flow back into the place where we were pressing into. Encouraging a little movement, perhaps a shoulder roll or a backstroking motion or just a stretch. And when you feel like you've just taken care of that as much as you need, let's visit the opposite side in this shoulder position today. From hands and knees, we start. Lift the left arm up. Guiding that left arm underneath the chest to reach across to the right. Maybe the use of a cushion under the side of the left cheekbone. What do you need? Remember to stretch your right leg back behind you, so there's a little more of an emphasis of the weight coming into the left shoulder. Comfortably finding a grounded edge here where we can stay. And relaxing into that drip feeding feeling, coming down, down, body's weight, dropping down to feel the ground. Always knowing you can do less. If you feel this becomes too strong or too much, simply back out. Placing the right leg down on the ground if you need. We're approaching our last 30 seconds. So let's feel our bodies. Let's notice our connection as we take the last 3 breaths here in the pose. And you can make your way out in your own time, being aware for those small joints of the upper body, rather mobile joints that we've been there for longer than we normally do take there. And so please just take so much time and care following your own transition time. And we deliberately spend less time weighting in or heavying the body's weight into the smaller joints. They're already quite mobile areas, generally speaking. And so to sit there for an extended time isn't necessarily what those areas of our body needs. When you feel the transition coming to a close, bring yourself slowly, carefully up to seated. And preparing for the next shape, we're going to move into an open-legged dragonfly pose today. So we stretch out through the inner thighs again. This time we are seated upright, perhaps some support underneath the back edge of the pelvis. Giving the hips a little forward tilt with the back edge of the pelvis gently supported with your blanket or your cushion. When you feel ready, perhaps even a bend of the knees if you need, before your long spine gently comes forward into a forward fold today. All of your props within easy reach. If you need support, you might lean the elbows forwards on your bolster or your block. Working with the props in your own unique way. The soft cushioning of a blanket just in the right spot is such a perfect prop to use at times. Maybe even that blanket over the back body. And in this practice today, we have already just opened up an area of quite a lot of tension, the inner thigh line, and here we are again, visiting this shape. Inner thigh moving into the pelvic area is often a place where there's a tightness or accumulation of tension that's built up over time. If we relax a little into the pit of the belly, we can connect with that diaphragmatic breath there today. Feel the sense of how it feels when you take those belly breaths. Something changes. And you feel the result of that change. Maybe it comes through in a relaxation or a heaviness. Maybe you notice it more in a sense of feeling calm. In times where we need it the most. It's an important one to have in our tool belt to just bring that breath down, 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 repetitively into the belly. Oh, as your body's responding, can you stay in contact with the stretch in the inner thigh line? Tipping forwards as if to feel the front rim of the pelvic bone. And we bring more weight into the front rim where the pelvic bone sits, in the pelvic bowl area. Last minute here. last and final 3 breaths. And really amplify that feeling of groundedness as you press down into the earth, knowing you're supported, you are safe, and you are held today to gently come up and out of the shape when you feel ready. Taking your time in your transition. Really nice release for the inner thighs and pelvis. Into the back of the hips, the sacrum, and through the spinal joints. So in transition, you'll often feel it in lots or numerous places. And you might feel to move in lots or many different ways. And then I've had such blissful transitions where all I do is lay down and rest. So we get to choose. We're going to work with a mermaid pose next. You can use your cushions or use just simply a bolster. Put the cushions or the bolster out in front of you and sit against it, turning sideways with the right hip down. Both knees are bent, knees and legs are stacked together. And we lay our body over the cushions. Our torso, our ribs, our chest comes over the cushions. And we let our right arm lengthen underneath us so that our head can rest either on the bicep or placing a block in between the ear and the bicep. Let's let our head rest down onto something, and then top arm can reach overhead if that feels right for you. And just staying on the side body for a little while. We'll begin our mermaid pose resting on the side, choosing if you like to stretch the top leg long or keep the knee bent, but separate it from the bottom knee and kick your heel towards your buttock. These are just options. Opening up through the psoas area, muscle that sits deeply in the abdomen, attaches to the spine and runs through the abdomen region to connect to the top of the femur bone of your leg. And in times where we've been under duress, in times where we have encountered a little bit of stress reaction, this area is well known to tighten up. It's our nervous system's natural response, getting us ready to run. And so we open, especially the top side here. If you sat on the right hip, then the left side of the body through the belly and the psoas is going to get that stretch. We prise the ribs away from the hips, especially if that left arm is lifted over the head. Let's find that edge. Let's ground here. And safe and really stable, supported. We soften and we let go. Can you feel the result of an exhale? Softening and that process of letting go. And the invitation is to either stay on your side or gently let the back of your head roll towards the ground, rolling open. The left arm can reach all the way over to the left, and your upper body is hopefully supported by your cushions or your bolster. If you need to move or shift to the right side just a touch, reposition so you can roll open if you like. Just an option as we open through the chest. Resulting in more of a twist through the back body, a stretch through the front of the chest and all the muscles there that are prime or secondary muscles that help respiration. We're stretching through the back body muscles, the QL, quadratus lumboris muscles that sit each side of the spine. And there's a gentle little back bend as well, as the belly down into the pelvis is gently stretched open today. One more minute here. Perhaps you can really feel the diaphragm movement as you're taking those belly breaths. Lay back a little more deeply if possible, through your head, your neck, your shoulders. And just noticing through the lens of the witness your last 3 breaths. And as you come out, you might feel it's best to come out the way you came in. Sometimes it can be easier, but not always, so I'll leave that with you. Moving really slowly, taking your time, transitioning. Let it include some movement, but also know that there's an option just to simply be, to simply rest. Oh, maybe a much deeper breath comes through. And then when you feel ready, let's set that same pose of mermaid up on the other side. Working with the blanket or the cushion or the bolster. Sitting down into the left hip with both knees bent. And then reaching the left arm long and taking your ear towards your arm. The idea is that the cushion or the bolster supports the curve of your waist and the curve of the ribs. And then we can get that stretch coming through the opposite side as we reach the upper arm over. Maybe that's for you or not. Your arm can always just rest down by your side. Option to bring the knees a little higher with their bend or to stretch away with one leg. Let's find our grounded, comfortable edge. Let's come into mermaid pose, just staying on the side body for a little while. Heavying the weight of our bones. Exhaling out. And letting go into gravity's embrace. As you feel the different areas of your body responding to the way we're positioned today, and you infiltrate the breath in your belly. And can you feel that each time you go there, not just with your breath, but with your presence, with your awareness, that there's a change that happens. And in this way, we become a little more aware of the way that we can affect any stress that's going on around us. Stress isn't always bad. Stress is needed for us to grow stronger. Muscles need stress. Ligaments need stress. The weight of gravity is, in fact, a stress. But in times when there's too much of it, or in times when there's not enough room or time for it, we can change the effects in our body, our brain, by taking these diaphragmatic belly breaths in the moment. Now, option is to just gently start to peel open. Maybe we gently reposition the bottom hip or the bottom ribs. The right arm reaches all the way open or partially to the right side. The upper back lands on the ground and you feel the head drop back. Maybe you support the back of the head. And resting in floating mermaid, let's come into a sense of gravity just supporting and holding us as we let go. Good. Last minute here. Just feel in as the witness watches these last 3 breaths. That witnessing or that noticing can sometimes just pop a little bit of distance between you and what's happening. Not disassociating, but just gently being able to observe. This is great, especially if we're especially reactive about something or someone. And then softly and slowly coming out of the shape in your own way. Transition time. And yin is such a powerful practice. It doesn't just isolate one area of the body. So many different parts and places within you might be feeling this now. Take the time to gently self-massage or to rub a certain area. Maybe just to hug in or rest within your body. Whatever you need is valid for you. And I'm going to suggest just a brief little time in child's pose after that very open shape. Make sure you're being very nurturing, perhaps a blanket over your back, cushions at the front to support the vulnerability of the belly, the hips, the heart. And just in a little bit of silence, let's rest in a child's pose for a few moments, grounding us and reminding us we are held, we are supported, we are safe. And if you're turning your head one way, it's time just to visit the other side, turn to the opposite direction. Let's stay a few moments longer. Child's pose. Last deep breath. And slowly as you arise, take your time. Take care of blood pressure. Your head's been down for a little while. Let's slip onto the front of the body. Let's come into Sphinx pose next. Moving your supports around if you'd like, your bolster underneath the chest, cushion or your blanket, and resting on the forearms or maybe resting with the elbows out in front. You could even put your head down on your hands. This is still a back bend. Come to your edge, the place between too much and not enough. And meeting at that grounded, safe, supported space today. Let's become still and let's stay here in our Sphinx. Don't forget support for your head, for your neck, as we drop into a juicy back bend and come into the lower back region where the kidneys are and the abdomen stretching open with the inner organs there at the front. Gently drawing your attention within. And sinking your awareness into the sensations as you let go of your body's weight and deepen into your breath. Just feel into your back bend. Is it okay to stay where you are now? Do you need to be a little more sensitive in lessening the back bend? Walking the elbows away from the ribs or even placing the forehead on the backs of the hands as the elbows go wide and palms might be downward facing, stacked on top of each other as an option. Sometimes we benefit from feeling a little more in our edge. Perhaps our body has already started to open up. We could walk the elbows in closer to the ribs, or option to place the palms down, straighten the arms, and come into seal pose. And although it is a different kind of shape that almost restricts a belly breath, let your awareness drop down into the belly and feel the breath follow the awareness down into the belly. And notice, can you increase the breath moving down into your abdomen just a little more? Can you widen the belly? Can you broaden through the ribs and the belly just a little more? Let the breath sink down into the abdomen, gently moving the diaphragm underneath the ribs. Last minute here. Coming into our last, final 3 rounds of breath. In your own time, moving into a transition. Just taking your time, feeling your way, nourishing the area of the lower back particularly. We were in there for some time. You might feel it really differently now that you've come out. Cultivating some blood flow via some movement patterns, instigating some circulation to move through. The blood flow is so important as we invite it in to these zones that we were squeezing or pressurizing. The blood flow helping transport the toxins and the waste products out. And the movement also really including the lymphatic fluid and moving that through the spaces. Our body is so connected, so many areas within are benefiting now. Invitation to lay down on your back when you're ready. Of course, please take your time in transition. Our last shape will be a happy baby pose. And so as you lay down on your back, make sure your neck and head are comfortable. And as you feel to, draw your knees to your chest. Open the knees a little wider towards the outer ribs. And either taking the hands down to the ankles or feet, or lifting the feet to the sky. Grab on with your bind. Another option is to hold the backs of the knees. Happy baby pose. And you might find if you relax your lower jaw, you can just relax your lower jaw. Notice what happens in your body. When that area relaxes, there can often be a domino effect. You might feel it with the breath in your chest, down into the pelvis, even through the femur bones themselves. As you unlock the lower jaw, can you feel the leg bones gently soften and get heavy? Responding as we do, our nervous system's okay, that everything is safe. We'll just be here for 1.5 minutes, anchoring the hips, relaxing into the lower spine, letting those lower back ribs meet the earth, softening the inner chest cavity. Relax the back, relax the head and neck, relax your shoulders. Last 30 seconds. Relax your feet. Keep the jaw unhinged. Last 3 breaths. In your time, your way, as you relate to your body and how you feel now. Gently come out and transition in your own time. Moving towards our final resting pose. Our last shape today is Shavasana. Ensure that you have everything you need, that you are comfortably placed, that your space is set up in a way that's conducive to you relaxing entirely, completely today. Let's come into Shavasana. These final moments, just calling in any last remainders, any last places, any last areas of your body and your life that you would really like to give full, complete attention to. Becoming present and relaxing in a way that is purposeful, those areas, those spaces, those thoughts for the last moment here. Purposefully presencing ourselves. Taking a much deeper breath, maybe combining it with a stretch. If it's the right time for you to gently come back into awakening, and start to create some movements that help bring you back. And take your time, whether you roll to the side, and maybe you just sit straight up. Centering our palms together at our chest, our heart space. Guiding our hands up with prayer to the third eye center. From this place of connection and wisdom, let's come back into the heart. As together we bow forwards. Namaste.